Hey, what's going on everyone, and welcome to another episode of Designerhead. My name is Jan, I'm the host of this channel, Designerhead, whatever. I am doing these videos. My name is Jan. If you're new here, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know every time I'm releasing a new video. I typically talk about design related subjects, my personal rants, my personal opinions, and I also talk about transitioning into UX product design for those of you who decided to move into this field from literally any other field you can imagine to yourself. Anyhow, today I'm going to be talking about a subject that is literally not on my list. I do have a list of subjects that I would like to cover throughout this entire year, and I've been going and ticking off different subjects as I'm creating these videos. However, I woke up this morning with a thought that I want to talk about a very specific subject that is not on my list, and honestly, it's something that designers, as I've noticed, design leaders, designers, companies typically don't really talk about that much, especially from the side of the product experience and the UX and design and so forth. So I'm gonna talk about the subject. Why? Because, well, shit, it's my channel and I want to. Without further ado, let's hit it. All right, so what am I going to be talking about? Gotta get my coffee. So here's the thing. I worked in cybersecurity for about 4.5 years, some years ago. And while I was working in cybersecurity and digital identity industry, I was very much exposed into different methods of authentication into different products. The web, the mobile apps, computers, other devices, your cars, smart locks, and the list goes on. While I was working in that industry, I became incredibly fascinated with the fact of how people actually do log into anything and everything. And when I left that industry, right, and I moved into consumer product and so on and so forth, and left the B2B world for a while thus far, what I noticed essentially is the fact that suddenly the entire conversations about authentication and logins and passwords and everything else kind of toned down from my radar, or from I guess my subjects of conversations, right, that I used to have. And it's not because I suddenly stopped being interested in that. I haven't. But what happened really is the fact that suddenly my circle of communication kind of slightly went off the cybersecurity world, if you will. And this morning, really, I was thinking about it, and it's really fascinating to me that as I left kind of this world and I've been more and more involved with the design community and more involved with design leadership communities and so forth, and talking to different other companies and exploring different products and working on different products in the last couple of years, I noticed that nobody really talks about that one single element that makes a product really way better and incredible, right? Please tell me how many of you do not like getting into your bank account by just looking at your phone or touching your phone. Please tell me how many of you do not enjoy the fact that you can just look at your phone and it unlocks. Or for those of you who use things like Windows Hello, you look at your computer and it unlocks. This is a passwordless authentication system. And for me, it is absolutely fucking mind-boggling is the fact that it sounds, or it seems to me, or maybe I am completely oblivious to it and people do talk about it and I just don't hear it, don't see it, I'm not exposed to it, but please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like no one in the design community, apart from those very few who actually do work at these cybersecurity, digital identity, and technical and B2B companies, no one talks about that shit. Why? You figured out the rest of your product. You figured out how to go from one place to another, how to delight your user with different interactions, macro animations, and all that shebang. And the one thing that will make your product so much better, you still didn't figure that shit out. For the love of God, Why? Let me tell you a secret. And honestly, that's not really that much of a secret. Passwordless authentication, there are two ways of those passwordless authentications. There's the one that you're probably experiencing right now with your bank or your healthcare provider or I don't know, some other places. Essentially, you still have a password that you're using to create your account. And then you go into the settings and you tick off a either a Face ID or a Touch ID or whatever the fuck it is to authenticate with your biometric technically. At the end of the day, it is still not passwordless authentication. It is still not the process that will make you A, more secure because there's no fucking password for them to steal, and B, a lot more streamlined in both creation of the account and logging into that account with just your preferred authentication method native to your device, either mobile or your desktop. So, if you're looking at different methods of how you can log in right now, I can list some up for you. One, you have those methods of text messages, right? There's no technically passwords, but what happens is once you decided to log in somewhere, you basically provide your either email address or your username, and then you put in your phone number, you get a text with a special code, you type in that code and you log in. Well, my friends, this is essentially an OTP, what we know in the industry is a one-time password or a one-time PIN, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It is still a PIN, it is still a password, it is still not as secure, it can be intercepted and so forth. But we're not talking about security, we're talking about here user experience and design process. Now, envision to yourself, and probably you have experienced that yourself, this entire process. You come to a product, whatever that product is. Let's say it's a mobile app. I open up the app. I haven't used the app for a few months. It logged me out. I need to log in now. What do? Cool. I'm typing in my username or my email. Cool. Next, my phone number. Hit. And wait. I actually experienced that with Verizon yesterday, with those texts not coming through. Why? Because they had some fucking system issues with their systems and texts weren't sending, so I had to go back, send it to me by email, and even less secure, and so on and so forth. And so now essentially you're making your user wait. And now you're relying on a very complex communication system behind the scenes of the user hitting that send me that password or send me that PIN or log in, or whatever the fuck the button says. That command goes to your server sends it to, I don't know, Firebase or some other shit out there in the cloud to say, hey, this person with this username or this email needs a one-time PIN/password. Provided this number, is this number correct assigned to that user? Send it to that user. And now the user's device is receiving the text depending on the user's connectivity, if they have a good reception, and maybe they just completely missed the text. I happen to have an Apple Watch, so I will get the text on my Apple Watch as well. But if somebody who don't, if my phone is on silent and I'm in the middle of doing something while I'm waiting for the text, I might completely miss it and get back to it probably 3 hours later when this one-time password or /PIN have expired. And now I have to do this entire fucking thing all over again. Then you have those systems where, which ultimately I've noticed Google has been using intermittently. It seems like they're not using it for every single thing. It depends on the product and depends on the service. Where you're trying to log in, they will send you an email saying, is that you? You have to go to that email, open that email, hit the button that says review activity. It takes you to another page, which is Google page. There it lists really what you are, what is happening, and then at the bottom is two choices: yes, it is me; no, it is not me. If it's not you, obviously it's flagged as a spam activity or suspicious activity, being blocked and so forth. If you say yes, it is me, it doesn't take you back to where you came from or what you tried to log into. You literally have to manually navigate back to that application or service you are trying to log into with that Google service. I want you to slow down my video and try to count all the steps I just listed for all of this shit to happen, for somebody to just achieve an ultimately very simple task of, I need to get into something. It's almost like standing in front of a door and trying to get into your door, trying to unlock your door. Why? Because you need to get in the house. That's your task. Your task at hand is, I came to my house or my apartment or my office, whatever the fuck it is, and there's a door. I need to get in to that place. So I need to go through that door. Now imagine yourself standing in front of that door and having a chunk of keys, and you're trying different keys, and then you have 3 different keys that you need to use in order to unlock, and you don't know if this door is going to send you a text message necessarily ahead of time without sticking anything to kind of initiate the process, or if you're going to receive an email with that kind of, is it you or is it not you? Is it going to just say, give me your password? Or is it going to say, I don't know, give me your ID, give me your this, give me your that, and so forth, until you actually get into that. I am exhausted just talking about it, let alone using all these stupid processes. We're in 2022, we're in 21st century. For the love of God, some people imagined back in 70s and 80s that we're gonna have flying cars and talking robots in our houses as our assistants, which is another subject of conversation of those assistants. None of that shit happened. We're still figuring out how to use and how to utilize and how to avoid and how to protect the technology that was invented back in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. And we are surprised that we're getting hacked, there are breaches, the users are being annoyed, there is a drop-off in your user base, there is a cart abandonment, and the list goes on. And yet, there are technologies that allow us to be more efficient. There are technologies that allow us to be better. There are technologies that allow us to get into products in a much more streamlined, efficient, simple fucking way. And for some odd reason, which I cannot comprehend why, I mean, I can, and I probably can explain all these procurement processes for all these big corporations and how slowly they move and everything else, but still, none of that shit is implemented or being used. So why am I, a creative, talking about this to you, my fellow creatives, my fellow designers, design leaders, UXers, service designers, customer experience designers, and the list goes on? Because I think that as we are on a product side leading the digital transformation within our organizations, if our organizations are not ready for those digital transformations, but we are pushing it, I would implore you, when you explore these digital transformation processes, when you explore and try to research and understand how to make your users, your customers, your friends, family, whoever it is using your product, to really enjoy your product, not go through hoops in order to log into your product, not go through hoops in order to create an account, I implore you to consider passwordless authentication systems. And what I would say more than that is that please try to look into systems such as FIDO Alliance, for instance. That it's an open source methodology that can be used by anyone, really. Hence, it's an alliance by a lot of different companies that are trying to implement that methodology and still, I don't know, struggling, I guess, on some level, and slowly peppering it in different places of their services and products. But yeah, I mean, if you're truly looking into this kind of methodology of allowing your customers and your users to log in into your products literally in a seamless way of essentially just providing their email and then whatever they're using to unlock their phones. Like, I'm using iPhone 11 Pro and that's a Face ID. If somebody's using an SE, that's a Touch ID. If somebody's using an iPhone 6, that's a Touch ID. If somebody's using Android devices, that can be either a Touch ID or a Face ID or iris scan, palm, I don't know, foot, forehead, doesn't matter, but every one of us has our own unique biometric signature, and so we can utilize that to log into anything we need to log into. So my ask for my community is to be the pioneers within your organizations to push forward those kind of methodologies. And again, go and do research. There's a bunch of companies that do these things. Like, I am not part of Hyper anymore, but I'm gonna say Hyper is one of them. However, Hyper does not provide a consumer side product. They do provide a B2B product for large companies to implement this methodology for their consumers, right? So if you're a consumer of that, or if you work at that big company that you want to propel this passwordless authentication experience for your users, then yeah, look at different companies. Don't just look at the company I used to work at. Look at Secret Double Octopus, look at Trusona, look at Knock Knock, look at, there's a shit ton of companies out there that do these things. All you need to do is just look into a true passwordless authentication systems based on a FIDO Alliance methodology. I think Auth0 as well provides this kind of service at some level. There's a lot of companies, and probably more popped up in the last couple of years that I have been outside of that industry. I haven't noticed the competition, if you will. So yeah, do your research, figure it out, try to be the pioneer in the company to propel forward this kind of method that will allow your users to enjoy your product so much more and feel a lot more secure, because now there's no password for them to create, manage, and store. Because that's another really big problem for users, is the constant cognitive overload of the fact that they need to create constantly new passwords for every fucking thing that they sign up for. Figure out of what this password could be, should be, and has to be in order for it to be secure. Constantly be worried that my password is going to be stolen by somebody, and somebody's going to get into the system or the product and steal my shit. Case in point, investment platforms, financial, healthcare, shopping, and so forth, right? And more so than the last part to it is, where do I store my passwords? Now, if you Google my name, like literally my full name, and next to it you also put words of password research, or password usage research, or password behavioral research, any of these word combinations, you're probably going to find one of my articles that I produced for the blog of my company at some point, that I used an over 3 year of collected data to parse and research and understand the relationship of our relationship with passwords, the human relationship with passwords, which is fucking insane. The things that I found, really fucking insane. People are still keeping notes. People are still keeping a notepad on their desk at their fucking office with all their passwords. Or they're sending their passwords to themselves through email, through Gmail, and keep it in a very specific folder in their Gmail so they don't forget. What? Are you serious? Are you like essentially putting a sign outside of your window saying, hey, my house is fucking locked, but the keys is in the mailbox? That is hilarious. Anyhow, I hope this video was helpful in any way. I know I did not really speak about very specific things design related on this in this video, but I really had to get this thing off my chest. I really had to mention this because I am annoyed. After being inside of this industry, after using that product for almost 4.5 years while I was working at Hyper, is just mind-boggling how it's been years since I left, and it is still not such a mainstream technology that I see it in almost every possible product that I'm using. So I think it's up to us. I think it's up to us as designers and design leaders to push it forward, propel it, be the pioneers, and make sure that our companies implement that technology, not only for the company's security level themselves, but also for the users, to make people feel more secure, be more secure, and not have to go through fucking hoops in order to log into something. It's that simple. Come on. Anyway, once again, I hope all of you found this video useful in any way. Thank you for listening for my rant. It is going on my rant kind of list, if you will. Sometimes I do those. But once again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you spending this time with me, and I really do appreciate you tuning in and listening to me and watching these videos. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know every time I release a new video. Share the video if you feel that it's something that resonates with you and people you know and you think they should listen to it too. Please do. That helps this channel to grow. It helps to spread the words that I'm trying to spread as much as I can. And never stop learning.